All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
From Antares comes the message. Love is where the journey starts. Open your mind, remember your soul, and awaken the Antarean heart.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. The X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, here in St. Catharines, Ontario. And you can listen to CFAJ no matter where you are in southwestern Ontario by going to your AM dial in your car and finding 1220, or straight the good people at Classic 1220 stream us at classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, and on all our social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Toni Ghazi. And first of all, Toni, welcome back to the X-Zone. Great having you with us.
Rob, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor.
Oh,
and
thank you,
super
friend.
exciting to be here.
Toni, for our listeners who are meeting you for the very first time, who are you and what is the Antarean Heart?
Yes. So, well, just quickly before I answer that question, I want to thank you for that song you just played.
Oh, our pleasure.
Because my mind was trying to really understand what's happening, and I thought, so thank you for honoring the mantises and the Antarean Heart. So I just wanted to acknowledge that first.
Oh, it's our pleasure, sir.
Amazing, amazing. It's like so creative. So my name is Toni Ghazi. So for the ones who don't know me, I am Lebanese. I was born in Lebanon, and I moved to Washington, D.C. when I was 15 years old with my family. I grew up Christian. All I knew was Christianity. You know, you go to school, get your MBA, you get your degrees, you go through the whole, corporate life, and then you awaken. I awakened when COVID came, and the best way I can describe it, I was under the belief that religion and Christianity is everything. However, it was taught in school, in like religion class, whatever it is, or church. And then when COVID hit, everything shifted, where my consciousness literally opened. Best way I can describe it, in a lot of synchronicities like began happening. The world began to reorchestrate, itself in new ways. New documentaries, shows, new concept began like appearing. And I have a past life regression, my first past life regression, where I get hypnotized to see or experience like my past life. And the first image that came through is of the praying mantis. like the insectoid, the insect that we have
Right.
on our planet. It was a succession of like three images, and I can get into those details later. But it was such a visceral like experience that I ran out of that session fully knowing beyond the mind and like the logic that my connection is with these beings. I knew nothing about aliens, knew nothing about the outside world beyond the veil, nothing spiritual apart from Christianity. Um, but that just began like blossoming in my heart and my mind, and everything shifted. Like spaceships began appearing over my home in Washington D.C., like proper Washington D.C. I had light ships. I have disc-shaped like UFOs and these weird blobs of like dark black like ships and orbs at night and fairies. I mean, I have so many like documented video with my phone that, I mean, your whole world begins to shift when you don't believe, and all of a sudden you believe. The universe begins to reveal to you what's always like been there. Um, and then the best way that I can describe it, I began channeling what's called the praying mantis beings. I didn't know anything about the Antares, like planet or like the Stargate, but I had an Akashic reading with a friend of mine, Debbie Solaris, who does like Akashic like records and like
Yeah.
your first right, and like your first soul emanation, and like she's the one who brought my attention like to the Antares like Stargate, and that's where everything kind of evolved. Um, yeah, so that's the short version of it. I mean, there's more details, obviously.
Tony, your website says one of your missions is to bring through high vibrational, heartfelt messages from galactic beings through a conduit connected with praying mantis beings. How did this mission begin? Like this is one heck of a mission.
Look, when I tell you in that past life regression, I have this knowingness and that awakening within my heart, within my consciousness, within my mind, within my every essence. That's the best way that I can describe it. I knew what I knew, that my whole life changed to the point. So, for like the ones that don't know, I'm also a realtor, and I've been selling real estate for like 17 years. So I'm quite well known here in Washington D.C. My, like you'll see my name all over. But after that past life regression, I was called to plaster on the back of my car aliens, Bigfoot, that I channel like mantis beings, and even the tag on my car says mantis. While I'm showing houses, while I'm selling real estate to strangers, of course, you end up building a relationship with what was once like a stranger. But this is how much of a knowingness in this new mission was born like within myself, that I could not escape it. So that's how real it is, and I just tell the whole world that I talk to aliens and I talk to mantis beings. And now, as you know, on TV, on like Fox News and a few other channels, they've been kind of disclosing that the government has been involved with all of these races, and one of them is the insectoid like mantis being. So that's like literally on all over the news.
Yeah, it's all over the news, but they don't have any proof.
Look, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Listen, so look, what is proof to begin with? And how much is proof enough for each individual to begin to believe? You know what I mean?
I understand and I appreciate that point of view. However, when you're talking about Fox News, which has turned into a tabloid channel, it would be nice if these stories came out, including the video that was released by the Secretary of War or Defense or whatever he wants to be called, that basically did not show anything that could be understood by John Q. Public that this is real.
Oh my goodness. Look, the government has a way, because government operates from fear, and oftentimes they haven't like given the opportunity for the self, like meaning, as like we speak of the government, it involves humans, right? There's an individual, right? So until those people or those humans allow themselves to begin to tap into their intuition and tap into the wisdom that is within, and allow them to begin to operate from heart, which we can like delve into that topic
Sure.
of like self-love, of like facing the self, understanding like the self, and feeling safe within oneself. Once we do that, up to that point, we're gonna continue to operate like from fear. Because oftentimes like when I hear these dialogues about, if it's like a government entity or some other person or some other like institution, like talking about, oh, aliens have war and I don't know what else, we impose on other conscious beings, conscious intelligences, the way that we think and operate on this planet. In my mind, that doesn't make sense at all. For a conscious being that is more intelligent and like perhaps has more of an open heart, or has more of like a connectedness or like awareness with everything, wouldn't think the way that we're thinking, through separation, through polarity, through fear, through. So I'm always I try to open my heart to everyone who
Right.
isn't, because look, you're conscious of what you're conscious of, and you're unconscious of what you're not conscious of. So we have to be super compassionate and discern within ourselves, right? So the way that the information is like trickling in, like from the government, I feel, because it is coming from a fear-like perspective, and like they think humanity or humans aren't able to receive that information because the financial system will crumble, or like religion will crumble, and blah blah blah, and all these stories that are coming like from fear. If they give the benefit of the doubt that humans will be able to handle that information, they probably will like release more information. So. And there's a lot of layers, of course, right? But if you look at a lot of CIA there's a lot of documents that are beginning to like creep out or like be released, where you see that the government has been involved in all kinds of technology, all kinds of discoveries, all kinds of ideas that they believe that we're energy beings, and so when you look at the whole picture and you begin expanding your mind from what it was once before, the small little square, but now it's being expanded. You can imagine that there's other things they're not releasing that they know of yet. So, but I do want to say this: the teachings of my beings are always, 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 always. Disclosure begins with you. Each and every one of us have access to the wisdom and like the knowledge that's everywhere. So we don't need to wait for the government. I don't need to wait for this religion. You don't need to wait for me to tell you this. You, if you're courageous enough to begin to break the paradigm of what you think reality is, how we were brainwashed to think the world looks like this, that's when you begin to discover more, and the universe will begin to show you more. So we have the power within us to do that.
All right, Tony, stand by. You and I have to take our first break. Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, Toni Ghazi, visit his website, ToniGhazi.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios here in St. Catharines on the CanCom Broadcast Network, and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Lebanon skies to Washington nights, a child looked up through the veil of lights. Whispers of wonder, signs from afar, calling the soul from a distant star. In a garden where the mantis prayed, good luck and fortune. Where the
Explanation. Toni Ghazi is our very special guest this hour. His website is tonighazi.com. Toni, why praying mantis beings? What makes them different from other ET or interdimensional intelligences people claim to contact?
So, look, the irony of all this is I've been afraid of insects all of my life.
Oh,
Absolute terrifying fear
oh my gosh.
of anything multi-legged. So the fact that now I'm the representative or one of the representatives of the praying mantis beings, which of course now all that has shifted. I do recognize everything is consciousness, and I do challenge myself to hold every insect that's on our planet. So I don't have fear anymore of it. But for 2 years, because I'm 46 now, for like 42 years, I've been afraid of insects all of my life. But then all of a sudden, at the age of 42, I'm here sitting saying this. Why that archetype? I really don't know that answer. But I do want to tell you that in essence, like those beings aren't insectoid in nature. But for our physical mind to be able to understand like something very vast and super like intelligent in the sense beyond form, they need to come to us for our physical mind, for our comprehension, through an archetype. And like the archetype that they chose is the praying mantis like look. Because when I first met them, like through the past life regression, so like the first image was of this of this like rectangular head, clear as day, like praying mantis head. The next image was of this long-bodied silhouette that was all made of light, like you see a head, you see shoulders and arms, but like no features because like the light was emanating like from it. And I heard telepathically very clearly, we are coming to you in this human silhouette form, because if we come to you in our like intelligent, like conscious form, the mind, the construction of our human like brain, the way we understand things, there's nothing in there that it's going to be able to construct to understand. So through my understanding, like through them, is that they have to always come through an archetype that makes sense to our mind. But beyond the construction or beyond like the archetype of like the praying mantis beings, we go into the frequency of the messages, the frequency of what like they're trying to share with us. Because when I'm channeling for clients or like when I'm channeling like, on stage, I mean, I go into states of like consciousness. Words are not enough to describe like what I experience. So does that make sense so far?
So far, so good.
Sure. Yeah. And look, this is part of like, awakening. Like this is part of like, enlightenment, right? It's not that like that there's always absolutism, because there's no absolutism like within the infinite. They always say that we're all infinite beings experiencing ourselves in the infinite shades and forms of infinity. So everything is always constantly like forming and like reforming and becoming more conscious of itself and more intelligent of who it is, and sees itself from that lens and like this lens. So when you begin to truly comprehend the nature of what the infinite is, these absolute questions of specific things begin to disintegrate in like words. Our language isn't enough to describe something that's quite vast, right? But with what we have, like in terms of words, in terms of logic and the mind, we do our best to build a bridge or like to build steps to understand something that's much larger. But soon enough, we're all going to begin to rely or understand the like language of frequency, like language of like wavelength, of like telepathy, where like words aren't enough to describe experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Why the mantis? Something. Why wouldn't they pick an avatar that is more appealing?
Oh, thank you, Rob. Thank you for asking that question. But that's the whole point. How do you allow your nervous system to begin to feel comfortable with what seems to be uncomfortable, like through the stories? Like, why is the praying mantis look like a scary look, right? Like, to begin with, it's never scary. We as humans, we as society impose the idea that, oh, this look is a scary look, when in reality, it is consciousness, it is creation, it is intelligence, right? So their messages are quite provocative because they go into deep philosophical talks about how to find unconditional love, love without conditions, in things that we were conditioned not to see love in. So, through their appearance as a praying insectoid being that seems to be scary, like through our mind, if you're able to get past that fear of the stories that were embedded in our mind, you realize that they're just beauty and in love and creation
Well,
within that.
yeah, I cannot think
Sure.
of one story in which a praying mantis is relayed to or related to or talked about as a positive looking or a negative looking. So once again, I don't see any significance whatsoever to any extraterrestrial race who's trying to commit contact with us and show us that there's more to this life than we know it, and that what we've been told so far is just a bunch of bull. Why they would use the praying mantis? Why not something beautiful, something that we could relate to, something that we would trust?
Did you hear the judgment in that question? And this is them, by the way.
Yeah,
When,
yeah,
when,
I know exactly what I said and why I said it.
yeah, yeah, because this is the whole point. Why do you need to feel? We have been so conditioned to feel safe before we surrender
By who?
by our society, by our religion, by our marketing, by our stories, by our parents, by our culture, by our all these layers and layers and layers and layers that begins to define like our like our world. What's in the unknown? What is in the darkness? More of who we are. But our minds says, our nervous system says, well, I'm not going to step into the darkness until I know what's in the darkness. When the darkness is actually saying, allow yourself to surrender into what you do not know and let that intelligence, that consciousness reveal to you what it is. Because what is in the darkness is more of who we are. If I'm an infinite being and I believe that I have all facets and all shades, how else do I get to remember that I'm everything if I don't surrender into that everything? Does that make sense?
Not really.
Okay. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Why are people afraid to walk into a dark room?
Nobody I know is afraid to walk into a dark room.
Okay, so why are you afraid to walk
I'm
into
not.
a dark room? Oh,
I'm
you're not. Okay.
No.
Okay, you're not. But there are people that are afraid to walk into the dark room. Why would they be afraid?
I have no idea. I don't know anybody who is afraid to walk into a dark room.
Okay. Um, I mean, I know people. I used to be afraid to walk into a dark room because I would think, oh, there's evil there, or there's some boogie monster, or there's some entity there. Like this, but where are these stories coming from?
I
Where
don't
did the
know.
story that there's something in the dark that's gonna get me, or this, or like because my mind cannot see what I feel safe with, I'm afraid to enter. Right? But like, where are these concepts coming from?
I have no idea. I've never heard these concepts before.
Okay, well, it's amazing that you haven't experienced that. I mean, I
Like I'll
have.
tell you something, Tony. When I was a police officer, I loved the night shift. I loved working in the dark. I loved it when it was dark. My shift was usually from 8 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. To me, it
Well,
was the best shift in the world.
well, listen, that's amazing. But I truly believe a lot of other people aren't like you, like don't have the courage or like perhaps the safety to feel like good, like in the dark. I mean, I remember like when I was a child.
Hmm.
I mean, like even horror stories in like Hollywood. Every time there's a dark room, there's something scary there, right? So all these kind of conditionings that we kind of watch and like perhaps thinking they don't affect my life are being embedded in our mind. The point that I'm trying to make is because of the way we're trying to understand like life or because of the path that we've gone like through our journey.
Hmm.
Look, I lived through the Lebanese Civil War and like the Lebanese Civil War like lasted 12 years and I lived 8 years out of it from the age of like 0 when I was born until the age of 10, and we went to school every single day.
Okay.
you know Imagine the whole state of war, like having no electricity and like being in like the dark and like hearing
Hmm.
like bombs, hearing sound of of like shotguns and screaming, etc., etc. I mean, that does something to the nervous system, right?
Oh, I would imagine it would, but we're seeing the same thing happen today in Israel, in Iran, in
Yes,
Lebanon.
yes.
And then you've got what happened in World War One, World War Two, the Vietnam War. So this is nothing new.
It is nothing new, but these experiences that we go through have an effect on our body and begin like formulating this sense of safety and unsafety,
Like
right? So
PTSD.
exactly, like PTSD. I mean, we may
Okay.
not know it's PTSD, but it's a form of which,
Okay.
yes, you know. So these PTSD moments don't allow you, like in a sense, to then go back into a room because of that PTSD, right? So how do you begin to have that courage to walk into a space where you feel afraid? And I'm being quite 3D in my words because like now we're gonna take it to like theoretical talks of like the mind, like philosophy, like how do you get to overcome your fear, right? And even when you pose the question like why would aliens and um and I'm doing my best to paraphrase like what you did.
Sure.
So like please forgive me if I don't use the
No
exact words.
problem.
But like you said, something to the effect of why don't aliens come in a friendly format?
Right. Like other people say that they see aliens that are Nordic, grays. Some look like Swedes. Some look like you and I. So just to have this praying mantis facade,
Yeah.
it boggles my imagination. But look, you and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour, so please stand by. Exo Nation, Toni Ghazi is our special guest. His website is ToniGhazi.com, and we'll both be back on the other side of this break as the Exxon continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center here in St. Catharines on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming us on classic1220.ca.
Telescope stare, searching for a giant in the darkness out there. They watch the small worlds drift and bend, tracing silent paths where the known planets end. Is it gravity's ghost or a world unseen? A hidden king in the cosmic dream. Planet X, are you calling from the night? A shadow on the edge of ancient light. Are you science? Are you myth? Are you prophecy? A wandering name in humanity's mystery. Planet X, beyond the blue.
Since 1990, through the dark of the night, one paper kept searching for the truth in the light, where others stayed silent, afraid of what they find. The X-Chronicles opened up the paranormal mind, from UFO sightings crossing midnight skies to alien encounters and government lies. Ghosts in the shadows, whispers from the dead, ancient gods and mysteries still left unread. The truth is out there, calling through the night, in the pages of the X-Chronicles, shining bright. From hauntings to disclosure, from science to the strange, exploring worlds and mysteries beyond the human range. The X-Chronicles newspaper.
Toni Ghazi is our special guest, Exo Nation, www.ToniGhazi.com. You know, Tony, I've had people on the show who talk about interactions with the reptilians, the talls, the grays, the, everything, every type of description of an alien extraterrestrial that you can imagine. Why so many different races? Or are these the same ETs that just use different facades when they meet different people?
Okay. let's unpack this and let's expand it. And like this is coming through them because when they speak and like when I channel, they really go into very
Okay.
grand topics that just really go beyond human form and human language.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you believe that you're an infinite being? Like, do you believe that you live forever in different forms and shades?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you for being honest. There are people that believe that they don't, that like you die and like you cease to exist. There are others that believe, okay, I die and I get to choose to be a butterfly, a wind, a planet, or whatever, or a human, or whatever.
Now, what I believe in, Tony, as I'll share it with you, is that when I die, I'm a Christian. So I believe the Christian philosophy.
Okay.
Okay. Do I believe in reincarnation? Maybe, maybe not. There are so many maybes and maybe nots in this world of ours today, Tony, that in my opinion, it's very hard for anyone who has the slightest bit of hesitation to firmly commit to anything. I was like you, I was raised Christian. And I've raised our children to be Christian, and I enjoy the Christian lifestyle. And that has nothing to do with my belief with what happens when visitors from another planet come here. I often wonder, are the visitors from other planets today the angels of days gone by?
Yeah.
You see, I want to believe, but I want to see proof.
There we go.
Yeah.
And that in itself is the biggest limitation.
Why is that a limitation?
Because you're telling the universe that unless you prove to me, like you have to understand the idea of like proof is coming from the conscious logic that you're in. So like within your mind, within your frame, within like your consciousness, the idea of proof comes from the construction of what you think proof is. Does that make sense?
I've heard that explanation before, and yes, it does make sense to those who look at it that way. But me, if you're saying that extraterrestrials are real, show me one. If Bigfoot is real, show me one. My philosophy is like that old Wendy's commercial with the little old lady. Where's the beef?
Yeah.
And yes, a lot of this is because of my background as a police officer.
Yes.
Because we deal in fact, we don't deal in fiction. And
yes.
Go on, Tony.
But yet we are desiring as humans to understand more of the beyond, right? We understand more of ourselves, to understand more of consciousness, to understand more of God, right?
Sure.
So coming from a space that requires proof, but yet there's that innate desire to also understand more and even being open to the idea. On that path, like, don't you think for a moment that perhaps the idea of proof may come in a different way than you think proof actually is? Because look, the reason that I say this is before I began channeling, which was 3 years ago, and I actually awoke when COVID came. I mean, I was literally a Christian, knew nothing about this like woo-woo world, and could not have fathomed where I am today, or what I believe today, or like what I have seen and experienced.
What have you seen?
I have light spaceships over my house that came. Discs, actual like silver discs, like UFOs that you can only see them when you pause the video and move frame by frame, and you see it whizzing at such a high rate. I had orbs flying multicolored, all recorded. I have fairies. I've experienced through my channel state or my deep meditative state things that I cannot describe to you, and I cannot bring proof to you because what is
But in this case, the proof is what you've seen, right? What you've seen, the videos that you've taken, and when you go frame by frame, you've captured the image of a flying disc, right? That is your proof.
Yes. And you're about to say,
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
okay, okay, it's fine. Oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say, just give me 1 second. Sorry.
Sure.
Um,
Well,
right.
you're catching your thought. I'm just going to let our listeners know that this is the X Zone Radio Show on the CanCom Broadcast Network, broadcasting from our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, and we're being streamed around the world by our good friends at your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJAM, where we are on air with them Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until midnight. Our guest this hour is Toni Ghazi, and his website is tonighazi.com. All right, Toni.
Yeah. So, have you ever thought of that the way that we experience the world, the things that we see from our eyes outside of us, perhaps maybe like a product of the belief systems we have like within us? Does that make sense at all?
Oh, sure it does. Yeah.
Okay. So when we began, because like you asked a question that my proof was that I saw like these ships, but the other question is, why did I see them? How come I saw them then? Why did I begin to see them when my belief system began changing, began shifting? So, like, perhaps it may be that within my field, I begin to redefine what the world is and just open up to the possibility of like something new and like something different. And because I shifted my lens from the inside, I was able to perceive what always has been out there. Does that make sense?
It does because, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that is what you wanted. Because of COVID and what the psychological effect of COVID was on each and every one of us.
Yeah.
COVID was a nasty time, you know, and maybe you were looking for something better or something different, that maybe there was something inside of you that was, you know, was just saying, Toni, there's more to this existence than what we see, you know, COVID and what COVID is bringing onto this planet, the death that COVID caused around the world. I you know, like, I could understand you looking for something better, some reasoning, some rationale. So I do understand that part. But
And then,
not everybody who was in the same situation had the same experience that you did.
yes, but then yet something physicalized in the sky. It was captured on video. It is real as day. You can see it and you may begin believing. Like, so like this is the point where our world begins to change. Like whether I had that experience or like you're able to watch somebody else has it, that's also an experience that could shift you to and begin to shift your reality where you are able to perceive those things. And like, by the way, COVID was the biggest gift for humanity.
I've
Although you
never
described
heard
it.
anybody say that before, Toni.
Yes. What did COVID do to us? The whole world stopped. Everybody went where? Where were they? Home.
Yeah.
Not just the physical home, but the heart. I have a lot of friends that have successful businesses, attorneys, whatever, have been doing the rat race, making all kinds of money. Because of COVID, they redefined their life completely to what means something for them. We weren't distracted anymore by the noise of the stress to go to work, getting stuck in traffic, getting ready. You were home all day long for weeks and weeks and weeks,
Yes.
and you were with you. So, depending on which lens you see, like life happen, you begin to see the gift of God. Because the praying mantis message is always, how do you see God? How do you allow yourself to see God in everything? And when I say everything, I mean everything. Although the mind may construct a like limited version of everything. So how do you begin to see God in what seems to be a massive pandemic?
I must tell you that my definition of COVID is not of a blessing. It was a curse.
Yeah.
You know, there are those people who were fortunate enough to ride the storm out. But how many people went out of business? How many people lost the only way that they could support their family? How many people died of that horrid disease? And the list can go on and on and on, Toni. So how in the name of heaven can anyone call COVID a blessing?
Look, when we talk about self-work, when we talk about going into your shadow, when we talk about really facing yourself and all the versions of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, and like the neutral, when you begin to do that work and face yourself like fully for who you are, what you are, all the decisions you've made, all the experiences, from that lens of what's called loving without conditions, like loving yourself without conditions, regardless of what happened, you begin to have the opportunity to see the world from that lens. Because we are creators, right? So me as a human, as this physical body, as this mind, as this concept, whatever's happening internally inside of me
Right.
dictates how I interpret the outside, and vice versa. Because what's happening inside of me is really, or what's happening outside of me is a reflection, oftentimes, what's happening inside of me.
Tony,
So-
we've got to hold that thought, my friend. You and I have to take our final break. And Exonation, Toni Ghazi is our special guest. www.tonighazi.com. And we'll both be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
The truth in the light, where others stay silent, afraid of what they find. The X Chronicles opened up the paranormal mind, from UFO sightings crossing midnight skies to alien encounters and government lies. Ghosts in the shadows, whispers from the dead, ancient gods and mysteries still left unread. The truth is out there, calling through There's a storm rolling in from the halls of power. Another headline every waking hour. Promises broken, trust wearing thin. People are asking, where do we begin? The Constitution gathers dust on a shelf, while politicians look after themselves. The rich get richer, the poor fall behind, and freedom's becoming harder to find. Can you hear the sirens? Can you feel the ground shake? History's watching every move we make. America at the crossroads, standing on the edge tonight. America at the crossroads, searching for the guiding light. The world is watching, the future's on the line. Will we lose what made us strong, or reclaim it one more time? America at the crossroads.
Toni Ghazi is our special guest, Exxon Nation. And Tony, I had to do a bit of a cliffhanger here because we were right up against our hard break. So if you'd like to continue, go right ahead, sir.
Yes, no problem at all. And I really wish we had so many hours, because like these topics, it's just so tough in 15 minutes, like segments to go through these things. Yeah, so let's discuss COVID for a second. And I know that your view, or at least what you described, is it was a traumatic event for
Yeah, sure.
humanity, right? People lost their jobs or like their lives. But we're not going to talk about the lives yet, because if you don't believe that you live forever, then you may see death as an ending point. But as a soul, if you believe in soul, what if the soul has fulfilled the contract and did what it's meant to do here and experienced what it's meant to experience, and it's part of its natural progression to move forward? I'm going to leave that there.
Okay.
Let's go back to the jobs, right?
Sure.
Oftentimes we talk about God, that God is everywhere, and like the universe is guiding us, or God is guiding us, and Jesus, Mother Mary, whatever your belief system is, there's some higher entity that is guiding us. Well, what if the forcing out of the job, losing this job, allowed you the opportunity to go into something different you've always wanted to do, but you never did. Like, you know how sometimes you get stuck into the rat race, or like you get stuck into like this job because like your parents told you that you're an engineer and you like went to school and like did engineering and you've been working engineering, and it doesn't matter whether you're successful like or not, your soul, you never wanted to be an engineer, and like one day like something dramatic happened that like really veered you off of that, and all of a sudden like you begin like to do your passion. So I feel that COVID, if we believe that God is here, and there's like and like there's some higher entity that is guiding all of us, like perhaps it was that dramatic push to get you out of something where you do get to change your life, you do get to listen to your heart, you do get to do your passion. Because a lot of the people I know ended up doing precisely what they've been dying to do for years, but never had the courage because the idea was imposed on them, or they were afraid enough, or like not courageous enough. Does that make sense?
It does, but to me, that means that person was weak, that they did not have the ability to follow their dreams in the first place. That's all that means to me.
Wow, I love you, Rob, so much. Okay, I'm happy you said the word weak, because we've conditioned to see the world through a disempowered state of being, and not an empowered state of being. And of course, as we grow up through schooling, through this, I mean, even like the education system, and don't get me started on that really, because that fires my like mind up. It's designed to make you feel not enough.
Whoa. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I disagree with you there,
Okay.
because the educational system that I went through,
Yes.
that my children have gone through,
Yes.
and my grandchildren are going through, are very positive. They want you to be the very best you can be, and they will give you the tools
Yes.
to do it.
Understood. In terms of education and in terms of knowledge, I understand. But like the grading system, that if you get an A, then you're smart, or if you get a D, then you're less than.
I
What
think
does that cause the internal system of a child when they're not able to get that A because they learn differently, or whatever it is, or they have no interest in it?
or is
What do you
it or is it because the child with the A doesn't spend 18 hours a day on his iPhone playing these silly games, and that the child who gets the D,
Yeah.
he's the child that, he'd rather play a game than consider his future.
Look, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
There are children where they don't exert effort, and they get like that grade based on like the exertion of the effort. Yes. But what if the education system was about really allowing you to follow your passion, and allowing you to be the creator that you are, without placing values on right and wrong? Because there is no right or wrong.
Oh, there's always right and wrong. There's always right
Within
and wrong.
consciousness, there isn't. The right or wrong is our concept.
But let's talk about reality and not consciousness, because there's a big difference here. In consciousness, you may see the need for cash, or cash to buy your family food. So, committing a crime isn't that bad, when in reality, committing a crime is bad. And if you want something hard enough, you'll work for it. Now, also, the schools that I've gone through, maybe I've just been very fortunate, because every school I went to, my parents, my relatives were always very, very understanding, and they helped me to get to who I wanted to be.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I'm just going deeper into the idea of like value system.
Is it an idea, or a way to make excuses for failure?
But what is failure and what is success? Isn't that defined by the mind? Isn't that defined by like the person's like perspective? What is
Certainly.
failure? Let me ask you that question. What
right.
does failure mean to you?
All right. Little Susie wants to be a ballerina.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she loves to put the little tutu on and get the ballet shoes on and go to the ballet recitals while she's 4, 5, and 6. Something happens in Susie's life where she can't continue anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't fulfill what she wanted to do. Maybe something took her on a different road where ballerina, being a ballerina isn't as important as it used to be. Or let's say her parents moved to an area where there is no ballerina schools. There are so many ways that a person can fail, whether it's by themselves or by the influence of somebody else. Failure is not an option. There doesn't have to be a failure.
Yeah.
The only time there is a failure is when the person themselves gives up on themselves. In my world, failure is a lesson to success. You cannot have success without failure. And as a real estate agent, the sale starts when the client says no. Right?
You said the what was the last part? I missed.
Any sale starts when the customer says no.
Sure. But the concept of failure, where did that start from? Who made up the idea that failure is here and success is here? Where did that come from?
Let me ask you a question. Have you fulfilled all your dreams?
No.
Okay. How do you feel when you look back and you remember those dreams that you haven't fulfilled?
The old way of me would feel like a failure.
Okay.
The old paradigm of me.
And the new way of you?
The new way of you, of me, not of you, of me, really sees everything was orchestrated precisely to allow me to become conscious of where I am today, and everything served for me to arrive where I am consciously today, which the next second will be different, the next second will be different, tomorrow will be different. So having equal values to everything that occurred. And that is honoring really myself, that is honoring my journey, that no parts within my journey, whether it was a success or a failure from the human kind of terms, is of more value than the next.
Okay, so excuse me.
Yeah.
The realization, the awareness that changed your way of perceiving success and failure.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So look, this is what I'm trying to explain at times, but it's hard to, I could use as much words as I can, but this is where each person out there have the opportunity to receive that awareness like within themselves.
But where does this awareness come in? I've got about a minute and a half before we have to say so long.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of personal like retreats where I worked on self. I've done ceremonies where they are designed to dig into the self and to face aspects of me that I have buried or shunned or felt ashamed or felt embarrassed or like didn't want to see. And like many of it, what is me beginning to believe in something greater than me challenging my mind and speaking to myself and God and the universe to show me signs, to show me like whispers of how I can see this differently. And the universe listens, God listens. But are we able to open our hearts enough to hear how messages come through? Because that's the other thing. God speaks to us all the time, but we think God is going to speak to us in the way that we speak to each other. That's not how the universe works. That's not how God speaks. It speaks in humans. It speaks in words. It speaks in music. It speaks in experiences. It like speaks in like movies. We're surrounded by data and by intelligence that goes beyond what we know. That's always feeding us information back. of the stuff we desire.
Tony, I hate to do this, my friend, but we've run out of time for tonight. Come on back. Let's finish this conversation one day.
Thank you, Rob. It'd be a pleasure. I really appreciate you and your audience.
You take care of yourself, my friend.
Have
And
a beautiful
Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about my guest this hour, visit his website, ToniGhazi.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as the X-Zone will continue in hour number 2 from our broadcast center and studios right here in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Get richer, the poor fall